What's going on, you bad motherfuckers? Yep, that's right. It's time for Stateside Footy. I'm your boy, Steve Solar. It is time for the pre-match US versus Belgium to kick off the first of two friendlies, the dress rehearsal for the World Cup 2026. And God damn it, man, we have to get into it because I'm fired up, man. The entire day at work, I was thinking about today's show, and this for me is what a World Cup year is all about. And as soon as this went from 2025 to 2026, man, I could not for this point in time, because between now and the end of July, man, it is all a beautiful game. Get to it, please do me a favor. And please hit that like and subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell as well, so you don't miss out on any stateside footy content. And of course, this Saturday, US versus Belgium will be live streamed, and of course, US versus Portugal as well too. Not only will we have the pre-match build as talk a little bit of what to expect on Saturday, but we will be back same goal as well as we get set for that same go round. Let's go ahead and see what the comment section is real quick. Oh, it looks like, yeah, Dan Davenport. I am using the green screen tonight, and yeah, unfortunately, hopefully this thing just works out actually quite well. All right, so tonight what we are going to talk about is the need for Pochettino to get a statement win in before the start of the World Cup. So far in his tenure, don't get me wrong, there has been some decent wins. I'm not going to take anything away from what Pochettino. All right, sorry about that, guys. I do apologize. Yeah, okay. So we are back now, and I do apologize. And hopefully this will stay the same. Okay. Let's see. I'm aware a little bit of a glitch. I understand. Hopefully this thing will even out and we'll have a good stream for the rest of the night. I do apologize. For Dan Davenport, 6902, I did not watch Brazil versus France today because I was at work, but and I don't think my body time to watch football. But all right, let us talk a little bit about this. It is true. In the run up to these March friendlies, Pochettino has actually had some very good wins. Obviously, the November window against Uruguay and Paraguay. Now, granted, we can make the case that Uruguay was a little bit of a rotated Uruguay squad. Maybe we can even make the case for Paraguay as well too. And of course, we had Ecuador, and we also had Australia. And so from that standpoint, good results there. And a lot of people will essentially shit on our performance against Japan because, again, that was also a rotated squad as well too. But still, very good wins against what I consider the top 15 in the world. Friendly or no friendly, rotation or rotation, no rotation or no rotation. But now all of a sudden we get into these two specific matches where we know for a fact that there is not going to be heavy rotation. These are, I guess you can say, the big boys of UEFA. Is this England? Is this France? insane? No. But that being said, it doesn't, it still doesn't matter. Granted, it's not, Belgium of 2014. It's not that. But still a very good national team. And of course, Portugal is Portugal. And it's a team never really can overlook. So from that standpoint, for Pochettino, there is that need for a statement win. And when you're talking about laying a marker down and essentially letting the entire, I guess, World Cup field to take notice, that is something that I would probably assume that Mauricio Pochettino wants to do. It always, I guess you can say it always tends to happen at the World Cup, especially with a host nation that does incredibly well. Prior to the 2002 World Cup, when South Korea made a pretty decent run, the lead into that World Cup really wasn't necessarily one of those types of wins where a lot of people come to and be like, okay, cool. There was that kind of statement win, that tune-up heading into that World Cup. As a matter of fact, the U.S. men's national team traveled to South Korea to take on that team in preparation. I think it was it's what some of those players was kind of getting a lay of the land, and I think the U.S. men's national team actually ends up beating South Korea in that run up to the 2002 World Cup. And we're starting to talk about Russia in 2018, South Africa 2010. One of the things that this team specifically needs is that, that thing where we can actually point to and be like, okay, cool, this run wasn't, pulled out of our ass, that type of situation. When you consider everything that has happened since World Cup 2022, when you consider the debacle with Greg Berhalter, him running out of contract, of course, the deal that was essentially a handshake deal with Jesse Marsch only to be rescinded to bring Greg Berhalter back. And then, the what I would like to consider the meltdown of 2024 Copa America. There hasn't necessarily been a tremendous amount of momentum with this national team in the lead-in to the 2026 World Cup. And so from that standpoint, I would probably assume the window is absolutely monumental just from a momentum standpoint. You kind of really want that heading into that World Cup. I know it seems kind of obvious, but that being said, when you look at this team's group and the expectation of potentially winning that group, it starts this Saturday against Belgium. So all in all, the way that I look at this is that when I see this Belgium team, I don't see that good, that good squad from 2014 or even the next cycle in 2018, where, it almost feels like Belgium essentially is bulletproof. I don't get the impression of that. I'm going to sit here and say that, this is chock full of punks. I don't necessarily see that. But when I do see, I see, a veteran and a guy like Kevin De Bruyne, who's probably way past his prime. Striker pool with Romelu Lukaku, who was brought into this window, Luis Openda, two strikers who in the past have been damn near world class. So far, 2026 season, a huge disappointment, especially for a guy like Luis Openda. If you guys remember his time with Red Bull Leipzig, where that dude essentially was lighting the Bundesliga on fire for a good spell of anywhere between 2 to 3 years. It hasn't necessarily got off to the he didn't necessarily get off to the type of start he was expecting in Serie A. That being said, when you look at wingers, Jeremy Doku, and then of course Leandro Trossard, and it also very could be that Trossard is actually going to light up as a striker. That's my prediction. I actually think he's going to be playing it with Mika Götze probably playing off the left. when I look at that back line, I don't see a back line that is necessarily going to put the fear of God into this U.S. men's national team getting forward, taking chances, taking risks, and potentially putting the ball in the back of the net. So let's go ahead and let's get into what I consider is going to be the U.S. men's national team starting 11. Let me pull this up real quick. I do apologize because I got kicked out of my. I got kicked out of the. What's it called? Come on now. Okay. Well, anyways, all right. My starting 11 for the U.S. men's national. I actually had it, and I actually had it all made up for tonight. And when I got kicked out of the stupid, what's it called? Studio here, it took away the lineup that I actually had written out. Let's try it one more time, and if it doesn't, then I will tell you who I had. As my starting 11. A second. Come on, motherfuckers. The lineup in this one. In the back, I have Matt Freese, and I don't think that is going out on a limb here. When we look at the goalkeeper, let's see, is it here now? Let's see. Here we go. There it is, right there. So this is going to be my starting 11 for the U.S. men's national team. Matt Freese obviously in goal, and when you talk about these four goalkeepers, the only other guy that you can make a case is probably Matt Turner. But that being said, when you look at how 2025 progressed, especially after Nations League, I think Mauricio Pochettino knows exactly what he has. And since that point it has literally been Matt Freese, and nothing suggests at this stage that Matt Freese is going to be number two. If anything, what I would say with Patrick Schulte and Chris Brady, it is going to be your battle for your number 3. That being said, I think 1 and 2 is 100% sussed out from Mauricio Pochettino and Matt Freese, unless there's an injury, or if for whatever reason over the course of the next month and a half his form gets to the point where he can't stop a shot, then yeah, you're probably looking at Matt Freese. My back 3. Now, let's just understand that Tim Ream is going to be a part of this, whether we like it or not. I think we've all seen Tim Ream start to the 2026 season in Major League Soccer with Charlotte. It has not been great. As a matter of fact, he looks like he's a step slow. It looks like he can't hold the edge. And because of that, trying to play him on the left-hand side is going to require trying to play a little deeper to make sure that edge is not especially when you're kind of looking at the way that a Belgian team will play and the speed of a potential if they're going to play you got on the left. One of the things that you can't have is that left-sided center back being a step slow, because you're essentially going to get free looks off that side, and you're going to have to draw your wing back a little bit more just to protect that. And who knows exactly how that's going to work. So I actually have Mark McKenzie, at least for me, starting on the left-hand side. A lot of experience on that left-hand side for his club Toulouse. I actually do have Tim Ream in the central area because at that same point, you're not asking him to cover around. you're just essentially asking him to be a shot stopper at that stage. And I probably would assume that you're going to be able to get something from Tim Ream in that kind of role. Chris Richards, obviously off the right-hand side, and I think that makes the most sense. Square pegs and square holes is what I say. Play him in a position that he naturally plays at anyway. And so from that standpoint, I would think that just with the center back group that we have in camp, this probably makes the most sense. Now, I know a lot of you guys will probably say, well, it all depends because Miles Robinson is here. If you really want to take a gamble, you can go Trusty on the left with McKenzie on the right and Richards in the middle. If you want to go that way, I don't necessarily think that would be all that bad. But again, you essentially only have 5 true center backs, and one of them is Miles Robinson. The other one is Austin Trusty. And so, of those two, you're probably going to pick Trusty. But you also have Alex Freeman. You also have Joe Scally in the mix as well, too. So there is some sort of combination that you guys can play. But if you're just going strength for strength with center backs, these 3, obviously the wing backs, Jedi off the left, say no more, fam. He is most likely going to be starting. And on the right, I have Timmy Weah. Once Serginho Dest went down, for me at least, it's kind of a no-brainer. We're talking attacking prowess, being able to hold the width and being able to provide service. Timmy Weah can do your job. But that being said, if you also want him to crash the box as that extra attacker, especially if Weston McKennie makes an inside run and you're going to want to have that extra attacker at the far post, Timmy Weah can also do that as well. And from that standpoint, this is probably the best option. The question is whether or not a guy like Pochettino is going to see value. And I like Alex, considering his 2025 and his acceleration up the depth chart. I guess it kind of makes you wonder if all healthy, whether or not anyone would even be in the situation to be potentially in a starting role. If you had Serginho Dest available in this one, it'd be like Dest and Weah. So my midfield pairing, obviously Tanner Tessman and Cardoso, and to me this makes the most sense. Yes, you do have Roldan, and you have you also have Berhalter. That being said, I would probably assume that in this case, those guys are going to be, late minute substitutions at this stage. And it almost feels like it's going to be something of we're trying to protect a draw, or maybe we're trying to protect one goal lead. In the case of Berhalter, and you're probably like, here's the thing: the reason why Berhalter is here, and Yunus Musa is not, is like the little things that he is able to provide, which is why a lot of guys, talking MLS, I guess you can say box type of midfielders, why somebody would probably pick like Jack McGlynn as opposed to a guy like Berhalter, because McGlynn's got a better left foot. Okay. But that being said, the way that I look at this is the Johnny Cardoso, redemption tour as far as I'm concerned. I've seen him in training so far. He's absolutely fantastic. And it's going to be interesting to see that combination play in the middle of the pitch between him and Tessman. Who is going to be the guy that's going to be pushing forward a little higher? It's probably going to be Johnny Cardoso. Tess probably going to be that withdrawn midfield role. And of course, you have nothing to worry about with Tessman. The other wild card here is going to be Aiden Morris as well too. And whether or not, there's going to be a potential for Aiden to showcase himself in this window as well too. But specifically for this game, you're going to want to put out your best 11 possible. And right now, Johnny and Tessman for me are that. under playing, I guess you could, in that tack-free two hands. Obviously, Christian Pulisic. And the interesting thing about Christian is that I think it was this last weekend, he finally got his first goal opportunity, picking up an assist. And it's going to be interesting to see exactly that type of momentum, how that carries him in, because it has been a little bit of a struggle for Christian. But it looks like he is back to full strength, and he's getting to doing what he does best, which is, essentially has really been that guy for the national team. It's been a long time for Christian. So what better time than obviously right now to do that? Wes is obviously kind of a no-brainer. I know that some people will say Gio. I think Gio is going to play in this window. I can see that Gio is either going to be a late substitution in this one, starting against Portugal. I can probably possibly see that. But Wes right now is, for me, Wes is in a, Wes has put him in a situation where he deserves to start, considering his run of form with Juventus over the last 2 months, the consistency in which he's been playing, and the fact that you can play him as a 10, or if you want, you can play him 8, or if you want to play him as a striker, or if you want to play him out wide, you can do that as well too. The versatility of a dude like McKennie, in his ability to either score goals or provide services, and so from that standpoint, I think his inclusion in the starting 11. This dude, I think he scored now 4 or 5 of his last 6 with Monaco. He is coming into this camp as probably the hottest right now of anybody for the U.S. And it's a no-brainer. As much as I do like, as much as I do like, this is flow, but it's flow. All right. My computer's acting slow. Oh, there we go. Come on now. Pull me back up. So from that state, the way that we're essentially damn near at full strength at this stage. Now, granted, yes, we are obviously missing things, and we're going to find out exactly what the 20-man roster is going to be looking like fairly quick within the next month and a half. When we're talking about Tyler Adams, Haji, Diego, I would probably assume that when it comes to the 26-man roster for the World Cup, I would probably assume that those names are probably going to be on. I can imagine a scenario where we're going to be dropping, we'll drop a keeper, and we're probably going to drop Bearhalter from it. And then there's going to be some roster decisions when it comes to whether or not this is going to be between a guy like Christian Roldan, a guy like Diego Luna, or maybe even a guy like Alex and Dejas, depending on which direction they want to go. But for this one, minus some of minus the names, out due out towards injury, this is probably the strongest that we can possibly bring in for this specific camp. Granted, of course, Miles Robinson is on this roster, but I digress. And I do want to bring up. I'm going to try to bring up Belgium's roster real quick, because I actually had that made as well too. Because one of the things that I look at with this Belgian team is where they're going to be able to have we're going to be able to have the advantage, and where potentially they are going to be able to score goals on us, and where they're essentially going to have. I'm trying to as well too. It's probably going to be their attacking three. I would probably assume, and we're getting this up right now, because this isn't like Belgium of like 12 years ago. When you actually had a very good young Kevin De Bruyne and Romelu, right? This isn't that. There it is right there. And this is my predicted starting 11 for Belgium, who will line up in a 4-2-3-1. I do like their fullbacks and Maxime de Kuyper and Meunier. Their goalkeepers are a little bit suspect. I mean, they got Matty Sells and they got Lamens from Manchester United. Solid keepers, I guess, but we're not talking about Courtois. It's not that. Especially for a national team like Belgium, you're never going to be able to replace a dude like Courtois. But again, solid keepers, pretty good outside backs, and where the U.S. is going to have advantage here is the fact that their center back pairing of Teddy Must. It's a little bit of a liability. And when you're looking at Belgium, and when you're looking over the course of the last year and a half, starting in 2024 in the UEFA Nations League, they actually got beat 2-0 versus France. And from that day, September 9th, all the way through March 20th, 2025, they lost 5 of 6, twice to France, once to Italy, once to Israel, and then they got blasted 3-1 in Nations League qualification to Ukraine. That followed up, which was World Cup qualifying. And let's understand that World Cup qualifying for Belgium put them in, I think it was Group J, with Wales, North Macedonia, Kazakhstan, and Liechtenstein. I'll say that again: Wales, North Macedonia, Kazakhstan, and Liechtenstein. And of course, Belgium won that group by 2 points over Wales. I think they won 5, drew 3, scored 29 goals, only conceded 7. And far and away ran away with this group. Well, I guess you can say it's only 2 points, but considering the fact that the opposition, they were only able to win this group by 2. And for the most part, I would probably say that they were gifted. They were absolutely gifted. A draw where even to rotate, they were going to win that group. Now all of a sudden, this is where we get to find out what Belgium's strength is. Now, some will probably look at this and say that Raskin and Onana is not a bad double pivot. It's going to be interesting. I would probably think that the U.S. is still going to be able to play the ball through the middle of the pitch. I actually look at essentially our midfield 2 versus their midfield 2, and I think Tessman and Cardoso is a little bit better. And so from that standpoint, I don't look at this as going to be a situation where we're going to have trouble and we're just going to be stuck on the wings trying to play the ball in the box. That's not how I'm looking at this. And what's going to be interesting is whether or not they're going to have that midfield pair a little spaced, or if they're going to drop them all back, and what's going to end up being, it's end up going to be a back 6, because they're going to have both of their midfields, both of the midfielders withdrawn, because they're not going to try to, they're not going to want to try to give up those inside runs. Where Belgium is very good, though, is in their attacking 3, potentially attacking 4. Kevin De Bruyne. Now, granted, he's not, Manchester City Kevin De Bruyne, but he still can set up and he can still play balls in. But where they absolutely crush us is on the wings Now, if they want to play Doku off the left and Trossard off the right, and then maybe take a chance with Lukaku or Opendo up top, they utilize Leandro Trossard. Let's be real. He's like, him and Doku are probably their two best players. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're, at that world-class level, but that being said, they're insanely good players playing for two of the best teams, in England currently right now. But the way that I have this, and Openda hasn't necessarily played all that well, it's not out of the realm of possibility to think that Trossard is probably going to be playing up top, and they'll probably get Mika Götze into this lineup, and Doku will play off the right. Either way, that's still quality and that's still class, and where they have the advantages against our back three. Without a doubt, that's where they have the advantage, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly, how our spacing is on that back three, and depends on whether or not we, with Jedi and Weah, and whether or not they actually can keep those dudes somewhat and not guys to make inside runs that would actually, essentially force our defenders to come up and play on 1v1. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And so from that standpoint, it's going to be not whether or not we're going to be able to score goals, because I think, when you're looking at this team, I think there are definitely goals to be had in this match for this one. Would it surprise me if we can potentially drop 2, maybe 3 on them? It wouldn't surprise me. The question is whether or not our defense is going to be up for the challenge of making sure a dude like Trossard doesn't burn us, or a dude like Jeremy Doku doesn't burn us. That being said, who's going to be tasked with marking Kevin De Bruyne? Again, it's not Kevin De Bruyne, 2014, but he can still, in space, he can still absolutely kill you. Absolutely can kill you. And so from that standpoint, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm fully willing to admit that, this, because this Belgium team is being led by a coach that is a little bit of a liability. I think it's Rui Garcia, a little bit of a liability. The last year and a half has not necessarily been kind to Belgium. Gifted a very good qualification group that allowed them to get here. But that being said, I would probably assume that outside of their match, dude, when you get punked by Israel and Italy, for me at least, that's a red flag. It's understandable when France is France, and even a heavily rotated France is still a challenge for any team in the world. But again, when you're losing to a team that really does not have much class and doesn't have much of an identity, and you get punked by Israel, I'm telling you, man, I'm looking at it like, okay, cool. It's going to be a challenge. But that being said, when we're coming into this one, I'll consider a very good fall of 2025. Momentum is on our side. In order to keep that momentum and taking down a team like Belgium, that would actually provide the statement win that Pochettino 100%. It looks like Henry says what my screen glitching like a motherfucker. Colin Reese says Luna and Berhalter will be on it. Both improve. Beat Uruguay 5-1. I don't think that we beat Uruguay 5-1 because either Luna or Berhalter, right? I would like to think that, for instance, so let's just say that we take out one goalkeeper, and we take out we out. Let's see. Let's go. Da, 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 da. Let's just say. Let's see. Let's go to our current roster real quick. Because we got 27. So let's just suss this out real quick, Colin, because I like you, man. I really do. Let's go ahead and suss this one out. So let's just say that it's going to be Schulte is off. So Tyler Adams comes in for Schulte. Okay. And Haji Wright comes in for Ajamang. So your three strikers are going to be Balogun, Ajamang, and Pepe. Okay, fantastic. Now, in the midfield, it's going to be, for instance, Tanner Tessman, Johnny Carso, Tyler Adams. So Adams comes in for one of the goalkeepers, and now you're left with Berhalter. You're left with Berhalter, Roldan, and Aiden Morris. And you have Diego Luna. So the question is what do you value most? Because you're not going to be dropping any forwards off this one, right? So for instance, it's looking like what? Pulisic, Tillman, Aronson, Gio, McKennie, and that's where you're going, where the numbers crunch is going to be coming in, right? So do you want to, if you're keeping 4, how are you going to squeeze Luna on this one, right? And also it is, who's the other guy? Who is the other guy that's out currently right now? And Serginho Dest. From everything that's been reported, Dest will be back. So the question is do you want to keep Berhalter, or do you want to drop a Joe Scally or an Alex Freeman off this roster? Where's the crunch, right? Me personally, the way that I look at this is that Christian Roldan is probably going to stay, and I would probably assume that Berhalter goes off because you do have Weston McKennie. If you're going to play a 4 in the back and you're going to play a traditional double pivot, you do have Weston McKennie in that. If you go CDM, 6'8" in that situation, right? You're not going to need Sebastian Berhalter. And oh, by the way, you still have Christian Pulisic, who is probably going to be taking the bulk of our free kicks in that situation. So from that standpoint, it's going to be a roster. It's going to be a roster crunch, and I can't see Sebastian Berhalter actually making the 26 as much as. And I can also see Christian Roldan making it as well too. 100%. So we are at the 41-minute mark right now, and what I will say is that, again, just to kind of recap, part the U.S. in an attacking sense does have a very good, does have an advantage over Belgium's back line. And again, for those keeping score, yes, Belgium looked good in World Cup qualifying. That said, they won that group by 2 points. They had 18 total points over Wales, who finished in second with 16 points. In a group with Liechtenstein, North Macedonia. Here it is: Wales, North Macedonia, Kazakhstan, and Liechtenstein. This should have been a group where Belgium should have, at most, had one draw. And they, it's like this really should have been something of like a 25-point absolute ass kicking in this group, and it was a little closer than normal. And then when you kind of look at how things progressed from 24 to 25, it wasn't a good run. To that early portion of 2025. As a matter of fact, they lost 5-6 with the draw mixed in there. Getting Italy and Israel along the way. And so from that standpoint, that's kind of where their Achilles heel is. Concede that I like their whole. I think he's a very good left back, and he's a very underrated left back in the Premier League. And I think their goalkeeping crew is actually not bad. It's not the best. It's not the worst. Said the United States has the speed, and they also have physicality. They do have the. Is this going to be a situation where they can pin them back for 40 minutes? Probably not, but for a good 10 to 15 minutes in the first half, can they do it and, potentially put to Belgium 100%? 100%. And it worked both ways as well, too, because I think the weakest aspect of the U.S. men's national team is going to be that back three. And, the question, what version of the back three are we going to see in this one? Is this again where we're going to see a Miles Robinson play to put out his best three center backs? Early in the show, I brought up starting 11 because this is where Belgium is going to have their advantages all too. Our back three, and if that's the case, you want to put your weakest link in the central area because he has to defend, which is, for me at least, is going to be in that central area in front of Matt Freese. I don't want him having to track and having to cover wide spaces out wide left. Of course, I'm talking about Tim Ream. Personally, I don't even want him in the starting 11. But that being said, he is going to play. 100% he's going to play. So you play him in a position where he has cover on both sides with Richards and McKenzie, and all he has to do is block shots from this. And that allows Jedi to roam forward and not have to be concerned with having to play a little bit more, having to, stay a little bit more withdrawn. Same thing with way off the right-hand side. Chris Richards can handle his own. Same thing with Mark McKenzie. Again, the only rub is the fact that Mark McKenzie hasn't gotten a lot of under Pochettino. So how is that going to shake out? Or is this going to be something where we're going to see Miles Robinson on Saturday? Outside of that, that's where Belgium is going to have their advantage as well too, because when you look at what they're going to be able to put out, whether, like, for instance, like if they're gonna be playing Romelu Lukaku, or if they're gonna play like a Luis Openda, and they're going to put Trossard and Doku on the right and the left hand side, and you're gonna have a center like Kevin De Bruyne, potentially moving to the right hand side, creating space and playing balls in. It's going to be tough. It's going to be incredibly tough for this back three to be able to defend that. So I look at this as a potential even matchup. But that being said, I think they have the size, the pace, and the finishing to get this win. And for me, the key is quite simple. The keys to this one is incredibly simple, as we have to maximize the first 25 minutes in the first half. We have to be on the front foot as much as possible, and we have to be able, to at least have 4 solid shots at Lawmans within that first 25 minutes. Like we have to get that keeper moving, and we have to press forward, and that's for me, that is the U.S. key. My first key to this one. Oh, is Lukaku sent home? Fair enough. There you go. So if they want to go Openda up top, or me personally, I have Trossard starting up top for them. Mika Guts on the left and Doku on the right. But that being said, if this team can start quick and be on the foot and put pressure on their back four and get a goal within the first 5 minutes, we win this game. Without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. If this is the type of game where it takes 45 minutes to kind of feel each other out, and this becomes essentially a counter-attacking game where one goal midway through the second half nicks it, this potentially has a potential to go the wrong way for the United States. So from that standpoint, it's imperative, especially at home, it's imperative us to do exactly what we did against Uruguay, and that is literally just get numbers forward. Get numbers forward. Get those 1-2s. Get those 1-2s on both sides of the pitch. Get that ball moving central areas, and just be. And from that standpoint, it feels like this U.S. men's national team now is on the same page. It doesn't have that sketchiness from what we saw prior to the goal last season. It feels like this team is 100% on board, and it feels like this team is ready for this World Cup. And so from that standpoint, we're going to find out. But again, this team absolutely has to take it to them in the first 25 minutes and just literally put shots on net, make them a little bit uncomfortable. Remind everyone that this Belgium team is nowhere near what this was back in the 2010s. We saw the last time the U.S. saw Belgium in a meaningful tournament was at that 2014 World Cup in Brazil. This Belgium is not that Belgium. That was literally like one of the best versions of what was the golden generation for Belgium. This is a good team. It's just not a great team. I would probably venture to bet. I would venture that right now, like when you get past the top tiers in Europe, right? So England, France, Spain. Yeah, we can put Portugal in there. Not so much Germany. I would think that the Netherlands are up there. I think the Netherlands are a better team than Belgium right now. As far as teams that are a little bit vulnerable, I'd probably put Belgium and Germany kind of in that same class. They're better than Italy, but that's not saying much because Italy is absolute dog shit at the moment right now. And there's a good chance that they're going to miss that altogether. So what I will say is that, the way that, like, if you're going talent for talent and you're also going off of form, there are certain positions within the squad where they're clearly head and shoulders better than us. But overall, when you're putting 11 side by side, there's also positions where we're far and away a little better as well too. Considering that they're playing a winger as a striker, potentially, and considering our strikers coming in as one of us in Europe right now, Pulisic looks to be back into form, and of course Weston McKennie has been absolutely on fire in Italy over the course of the last 2 months. I don't know, like it just feels like U.S. is probably the better team on Saturday. We'll find out. But again, getting out early, being brave on the front foot, taking it to them in the first 25 minutes and securing the early goal. Number one. Number two, don't show them too much respect. Because again, like when you're looking at Belgium, like it would be different if we were playing France, right? When you're playing France and you look at the firepower that France, they go essentially 4 deep at pretty much every single position. Like they are, in a lot of ways they're world class too, getting down at the second and third teams, right? Where you do have to show them some respect. Not to mention the fact that, they're also world champions as well too. They've also won World Cup recently as well too. So from that standpoint, you kind of have to, you would definitely show them respect. But Belgium, you can't do that. You actually have to have that mentality where when you show up, your dick has been in the room for 5 minutes already. You know what I mean? You have to be the one that exudes confidence. You have to be the one that expects to win as soon as you step on the pitch. Because quite frankly, we just might be the better team. I think we're better coached. I think this team understands what the expectation levels are. And when we're talking about teams that are getting together for the first time in 3 months and only having a few days to train together, who's going to be the team that's going to be a little more mentally prepared? Is it going to be us or is it going to be Belgium? I don't know. I kind of think it's us. I kind of think it's us. I personally, and maybe I'm biased because, for obvious reasons, man, I love the national team. But I also think that this team has turned a page in a big way. Where it's interesting too, because I think Tim Ream recently in an interview, I think this was yesterday, where he was saying that Greg Berhalter, they had that leadership group where it was almost like inmates were running the asylum, right? Because you had a couple players that were doing the bulk of the talking, and those players were talking on behalf of the team, and a lot of players felt shut out, felt like they didn't have a voice within the team, and from that, it just kind of essentially the coaching staff to a little bit of a point where the coaches didn't necessarily have that type of power that they usually should. Since Pochettino's been there has been no leadership group. Like everybody feels like they have a voice within the team, and it feels like as far as so these players are concerned, they feel like if there is something that they need to bring up to the group, that they're going to be heard. And from that standpoint, I think that speaks volumes of the, I guess you can say, the environment in which Pochettino has fostered here within the U.S. And from that standpoint, I think players feel like they're on the same page now, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly how this plays out. The sky's the limit. And it starts with Belgium. And just imagine if they do. Imagine if they go out there and get a 3-1 against Belgium, and they do it in an impressive fashion. Imagine the momentum this team is going to have going into a team like Portugal. Right? They're going to feel like they're going to be able to pretty much hang with anyone. And that is a good position to be in heading into the World Cup. And of course, this team, I think, does have World Cup warm-up games. I think. Let's see. I think Germany might be one of them. Let's find out real quick. Let's see. Yeah, May 31st in Charlotte. That is still to be determined. And then June 6th versus Germany at Soldier Field. And then, of course, the World Cup kicks off. So there's going to be 2 more friendlies right before this thing kicks off. And, that's why 2 friendlies are absolutely insanely important for this team. And by the way, I don't think that Germany is going to be a problem for this team. Whether I like Nagelsmann out there as their head coach, but talent wise, this is still roughly the same German crew that underperformed with Hansi Flick as their head coach in 2022. We'll see exactly how it plays out. But my question to you is, number one, what does your 11 look like? Is this going to be something like, I mean, for the most part, you've seen my starting 11. Does it mirror? Is this something where you have, Johnny and Tessman in your midfield, or do you have McKenny play a little bit, play one of those midfield spots? Gio Reyna starting a little. Just let me know exactly how you feel about that. What's your desirable back three that's going to get the best results, and then also let me know what your score prediction is for Belgium on Saturday. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say 3-1 US. I'm going to say goals are going to be, I'm going to say Ballin. I'm going to say Pulisic, and then I'm going to say Gio Reyna in the second half. He's going to come on in the 70th, 71st, and he's going to get that third one late. My goal scores: Balogun, Pulisic, and Reyna. So let me know how you feel this one is going to play out. Again, let me know what your starting 11 looks like and what your score prediction is. Leave it in the comments, and of course, I will respond to that one. Just a quick note that Saturday at 3:20, it will be US versus Belgium. The live stream will be here on Stateside Footy. Man, it's going to be a fantastic live stream. And of course, that will be preceded by US versus Portugal. That stream again will be here Stateside Footy. I will try to get in a pre-match build-up for that as well too. And following the window, of course, we do stock up and stock down, where we go over the cast of characters that feature most in these two friendlies, and I will let you know who had the best windows and also who probably did themselves a disservice. And of course, we will have our final World Cup roster prediction show version 4, which is going to be the last one. We do it after every single window. As I let you know exactly what my 26-man roster is going to look like. And of course, I would love for you guys to submit your final World Cup roster prediction as well too. What I'm thinking about doing is the person who is close, I guess you could say the person who drops the comment that gets closest to getting the roster correct, I am going to hook you guys up with either a custom shirt or a custom USMNT national team jersey for you guys to get ready for the World Cup. And so I think that would be absolutely awesome to do. Also, I don't know, man, it's kind of fun. It's fun, man. I like to take care of you guys out there, especially those that have taken the time out to be fans of the show as well too. So let me know. Of course, all those shows are going to be posted. All you have to do is go to the YouTube page. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and also watch out for posts as well too, which will let you know exactly when stock up and stock down and the World Cup roster prediction show will drop. And so from that standpoint, man, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Again, my prediction for Saturday is these 3, Belgium 1. I don't believe in this version of Belgium. If this were 2014, 2018, I probably have a different feeling about it, but it's not that squad anymore, unfortunately. And me personally, I think we're coming in with the right momentum, the right mindset. I think we actually have a little bit better tools than what Belgium provides. It's going to be interesting to see exactly who is going to be the better coach in this one as well too? Is this going to be, is this going to showcase where Mauricio Pochettino essentially lets everybody know exactly how these things are supposed to handle? Is he going to, out-coach a guy like Rudy Garcia? Find out, man. We'll find out. I do want to thank everybody tuning in. Greg, 1987, Colin Reese, 1975, who is homeboy, Dan Davenport, also one of the homeboys, and Javier Mendoza. You guys are awesome. I do want to thank those that were tuning in from X, and of course those that were tuning in here on YouTube. You guys are awesome. I will see you guys on Saturday for the U.S. versus Belgium live stream. So I'm looking forward to it. I cannot wait. Until then, come on, you States.
Rusted goalposts under fading skies, tattered flags waving dreams in our